Hello and welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. What is a pin bar? What does it look like? And what could it mean? I'm going to explain that in this video. First, I want to let you know that if you don't have a plan for your trading or investing, you really ought to have one. And I do coach people so that they can plan what they're doing and where they're going with their trading or with their investing. So if you're interested in the coaching, I do offer it. You can email me at davidmodell@gmail.com for the coaching. So let's talk about pin bars. First of all, it's not really anything special. I know it's a fancy sounding word. It's a candlestick that looks kind of like a pin. You know, the kind of pin that you would use with a pin cushion or with, I don't know, sewing or with a one of those boards that you stick pins into, okay? So these kind of look like pins, I guess you could say. So these are pin bars, which are really a type of candlestick for your stock chart, or it could apply to cryptocurrencies, whatever it is, commodities. It's just a type of candlestick with a small body. You can see that these examples all have small bodies, okay? And it's going to have a long wick on one side or the other, but not both, okay? If both the upper and lower wick are both very long, then that's not a pin bar, okay? And so you're going to have a small wick or no wick, by the way. It's showing a small wick, but if it has no wick whatsoever on one side, that's also possibly a pin bar. So one side is either a small wick or no wick, and the other side is a long wick and a small body, okay? Okay, and you could have the small body way over on the bottom or near the top, all right, like these two. All right, so that's what a pin bar is. All right, so whether it's bullish or bearish depends on where it is in relation to the candles that are surrounding the pin bar, okay? I've seen websites where they claim that if the pin bar looks like this or this, you know, these two with the small body near the bottom, that's always bearish. And I've seen websites and videos also claim that whenever the body, the small body, is near the top, then that's always bullish. I don't know if I believe that necessarily, because I don't think that you can just take a candlestick in isolation and say, oh, well, you know, this candle or this candle is bearish and these two candles are bullish just because of where the body is in relation to the wicks. I don't think you can just say that in isolation. I think you need to look at the surrounding candles before you decide whether a candle is bullish or bearish. So I believe it's bullish or bearish depending on the circumstances. Yeah, you want to look at the volume, perhaps, for example. You want to look maybe at the moving averages and indicators and things like that. And also the news, what's going on, why is it up or down, that kind of thing. Okay, you want to weigh a lot of different factors. But one thing you can look at is the surrounding candlesticks, all right? So for example, if a pin bar, you can see you got the small body, you have a long wick on one side and a small or no wick, in this case, on the other side. And so this would be a pin bar. And the small body is at the top of the candle, but it's at the bottom of a big down move. Okay, so you got candles going down, down, down. Okay, and then you had this happen, this pin bar, and then the next few candles went up. So that's called a hammer. Okay, that's one type of pin bar. There are 4 types of pin bars that I will talk about in this video. So that's a hammer candle. All right. It's at the bottom of a downtrend. And that is oftentimes considered bullish because you look at the price action, okay, in this candle during this period, the traders, the sellers, tried to push the price down, but then they failed. The buyers bid the price right back up all the way until the closing of this candle, the closing of this period, all right? And then the next couple of candles were up, and so that would be perhaps confirmation of this bullish hammer here, all right? But again, you wouldn't know it's a hammer unless you first saw a bunch of candles going down, okay, and then afterwards 1 or 2 candles going up for confirmation. And so the context, the surrounding candles, make a difference here, perhaps. All right. You could take this same shape of candle and put it up here. As you can see, you still have the small body near the top of the candle and a long lower wick and a very tiny upper wick. So that's still a pin bar. Looks a lot like this one. And yet, look where it is in relation to the other candles. Preceding it, before it, you had a bunch of candles going up. And then you had the pin bar, and then the candles going down afterwards. So that's not so bullish, is it? And that's called a hanging man candle. That's another type of pin bar, but it's often considered not bullish, like the hammer, but bearish. Okay? But again, you wouldn't know it unless you saw the preceding, the candles before, going up, 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 and then for confirmation, 1 or 2 candles going down afterwards would confirm that this was in fact, or it looks like a hanging man formation. Okay, let's look at 2 more types of pin bars. All right, so here's another pin bar, small body. You have 1 big wick. The upper wick is long. Then the lower wick is small or non-existent. In this case, it's small. Okay. And then you have another candle that looks a lot like it up here. Okay. But are they both bearish? Well, not necessarily. This is called an inverted hammer. It is a pin bar, yes, but it's at the bottom after a bunch of red candles or candles going down, a bunch of bearish candles down, 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 and then your pin bar with the body near the bottom and the long upper wick and short or no lower wick. And then for confirmation, the next couple of candles are up, and so that could possibly confirm that this was an inverted hammer, okay? Because it's at the bottom of a downtrend. Just like the regular hammer. Okay, the hammer was at the bottom of a downtrend. All right. Now the inverted hammer is not as bullish as this hammer. Okay, because with the regular hammer, you have the bottom of a downtrend, just like the inverted hammer, but also the candle itself is more bullish because, again, as I explained previously, the sellers tried to push the price down but then failed, and it closed near or at the top of the candle of the period. Whereas with the inverted hammer, it's not quite as bullish in the price action of this candle because the buyers tried to push it up but then they failed and it closed near the low of that period or of that candle. So it's not quite as bullish, although it is often considered mildly bullish, okay, because it is at the bottom of a downtrend, and if the next couple of candles were up, that would confirm that it's an inverted hammer, so it's slightly bullish, whereas this is quite bullish oftentimes. Again, you have to look at other factors, though. Look at the volume, look at other indicators, look at the news, and so on. Well, what if that same type of candle shape is at the top of an uptrend? You had a bunch of candles, green ones or whatever, bunch of, bullish candles going up, 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 and then you get this thing over here, this pin bar. Well, that's called a shooting star, especially if you get a couple of confirmation candles, red ones, going down and down. Then that's called a shooting star, and that's considered quite bearish because not only is it at the top of an uptrend and you had a couple of red confirming candles afterwards going down, but also look at the candle itself. Look at what happened during this period. The buyers tried to push the price up, but then failed, and the sellers took over and closed it near the low or at the low of this period, of this candle. All right, and so the shooting star would be considered even more bearish than the hanging man. I know the hanging man has an ominous name, and it sounds very bearish, but really I personally usually consider it, not always, but usually consider it only slightly or mildly bearish. Because during this period, the buyers still did prevail. They still did win in the end of this period, okay? The sellers tried to push it down, but then failed. The buyers took control back and pushed it back up, and it closed near the high of this period, okay? So this pin bar, the hanging man, would probably be by itself, although it is moderately bearish because it's at the top of an uptrend and you have a couple of confirming candles here. Still, the shooting star is oftentimes considered more bearish than the hanging man, I should say. Okay, so there you go, 4 different types of pin bars. And so if you see a video on YouTube somewhere made by somebody else, or an article, like I've seen these where they say, oh, you know, if it looks like this, it's always going to be bearish, and if it's shaped like this, it's always going to be bullish. I don't know that I would believe it necessarily. I think you need to look at the context, the surrounding candles, where is it in relation to other candles, and other factors as well. And I'm going to show you an example here on TradingView. Okay, take a look at this, and can you find the pin bar, the important pin bar in this chart here? I think you probably found it by now. There are a number of pin bars, okay? Like for example, there's a pin bar here, but is it an important one? Not really. This is the important one, okay? Because as you can see, downtrend, down, 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 and then look at that. Do you see that hammer candle, right? The sellers tried to push it down, but then the buyers took back control and closed it near near the high of that period. Okay, and this is a daily candlestick chart of Apple, by the way, but it doesn't matter. And then there's a long lower wick and barely any upper wick and small body. Okay, so that's a pin bar and it's a hammer, and you can see it was confirmed by the next couple of candles that were up. All right, next 3 candles were up, and it just kept going up and up and up. It does not always happen like this. This does not work perfectly every time, okay? It's just one example, all right? So I hope that was helpful with pin bars. But this in itself is not a trading strategy by itself. It's not a trading or investing plan. You want to have a plan. Okay, I do offer coaching. I help people put together plans for their trading or their investing. You can email me for the coaching at davidmodell@gmail.com. I want to thank you so much for watching and for listening. And hey, I will talk to you again really, really soon.
Hey, what's so heavy? Talking like